Coming up on Movie Show Plus. The big film opening this weekend is Joker, but with it comes all of the controversy. I'm sitting down with a criminologist from the University of Michigan Dearborn to discuss.
While there are some people who may be mentally ill engaging in these types of crime, those people who are mentally ill are no more prone to this type of crime and violence than those in the general population.
All that plus a whole lot more coming up on Movie Show Plus.
One small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Send in the clowns. The first thing for us was the weight loss. I think that's really what I started with. And as it turns out, that then affects your psychology. And so you really, I mean, you start to go mad when you lose that much weight in that amount of time. Very early on in the rehearsal, I was given the journal that he has, which is journal and joke diary. And that was really helpful because I'd been there for a couple weeks and I wasn't sure how I was going to start. And Todd sent over this journal. And initially, remember I went to
an empty journal, like here, write in it.
Yeah, and I went to and I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to write. And so I asked you for like some suggestions and you sent over something that started me off. And then after a few days, I ignored your suggestions, and then suddenly I was just it was coming out, and I hadn't anticipated that. I didn't plan on it, and it just became like a really important part of the discovery of the character for me at that time.
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed, but I do. Are starting to notice.
We spent a lot of time, Joaquin and I, before we would even started making the movie, of course, I would say 6 months, talking about the character, talking about the script, talking about the laugh, talking about the voice, what it is, and how he dresses, and what his hair. I mean, all these things that you do in general in movies, but it seemed we would go rather pretty deep into it. A lot of the time, in the beginning, I would go up to his house, and then we started making the movie, finally, and then it just continued, and that's kind of what I think he was saying to that gentleman, which was, it really never stopped, and even on the last day, we were discovering things and saying, oh, we should go back and we should shoot for 3 more weeks and redo this and redo that, because we were constantly finding new things of Arthur and of Joker that we just kind of loved and wanted to dig into.
Todd came over and kind of talked me through what it is that he wanted out of this character in this movie. And he showed me some videos, and he described the laughter as something that's almost painful. And so ultimately, I think that it is Joker, it's a part of him that's trying to emerge, right? And I thought that was a really interesting way of looking at this laugh, because I think we all kind of assume what a Joker laugh is, and it felt like it was a new, fresh way of looking at it.
How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
Hey, Greg Russell here from Movie Show Plus, enjoying being here at the Foundation Hotel this week. We've been taking the show on the road quite a bit. Now, if you've got a business that you would like us to showcase, just let us know. Get in touch with us via our website right here, movieshowplus.com, and we'll get back with you. And hey, who knows? You might be the next movie star right here on Movie Show Plus.
I don't think it's the responsibility of a filmmaker to teach the audience morality or the difference between right or wrong. I mean, to me, I think that that's obvious. I think if you have somebody that has that level of emotional disturbance. I think that they can find fuel anywhere. And so I just don't think that you can function that way. I mean, the truth is, you don't know what is going to be the fuel for somebody, and it might very well be your question. It might be this moment, right? But you can't function in life saying, well, I can't ask that question for the small chance that somebody might be affected by that question, right? I wouldn't ask you to do that, right? I wouldn't ask you to censor yourself.
There have been a lot of think pieces written by people who proudly state they haven't even seen the movie and they don't need to. I would just argue that you might want to watch the movie, you might want to watch it with an open mind, and because ultimately what the movie is saying, the movie makes statements about lack of love, childhood trauma, lack of compassion in the world, and I think people can handle that message.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for all of us. I think we all are aware of these issues and we're concerned, and I think that's why we talk about it. And I don't think that we can be afraid to talk about it.
So, Kevin Early, you are a professor of criminology here at the University of Michigan, Dearborn.
Yes.
I was so excited really to be able to chat with you because, as you know, the new film Joker is coming out in theaters this weekend. And along with all of the hype for just the movie, the excitement over the character and the movie itself, it's come with this controversy. What are your thoughts, just general thoughts, on the controversy surrounding this film in terms of the violence and the depiction of violence and the possibility of, copycat crimes? I guess, what's your initial reaction to this whole thing?
Well, the violence depicted in this film, this particular film, and films like it, is the norm these days,
Yeah.
insofar as R-rated films are concerned. And many of the films coming out of Hollywood these days are violent. So I'm not concerned about the nature of the violence as depicted in the film as I am about the controversy surrounding the film associated with a lot of the serial killings and mass murders that have become the norm in the United States these days. The controversy, as I see, especially in the classroom, I just finished a lecture where the students were talking about it, and some were fearful about even attending the film, and some had said that their parents didn't want them to go. I know I've spoken with members of the law enforcement community here in the metro area, and their alarm bells are up because of what you referred to earlier as a copycat. It's the violence is associated with the tenor of the film. I think a lot of these characters are a reflection of the greater society, and I think the Art Fleck character is in every one of us. Every one of us has that potential.
The Joker, yeah.
Yeah, the Joker.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the character, this character is no different from what is often experienced by young ones in school. The bullying, the harassment, the aggressive adult role models at home, inconsistent parenting. This has become the norm in terms of family modeling with children. The Aurora shooting, well, that kid had some psychological problem. He was already in treatment and counseling, which brings me to an important point that I want to raise, that so many people associate mental illness with these types of crimes and the criminality, just as the Fleck character was experiencing or suffering from mental illness. Yes, while there are some people who may be mentally ill engaging in these types of crime, those people who are mentally ill are no more prone to this type of crime and violence than those in the general population.
Is that right?
So I think John and Jane Q. Public, they're more concerned about the fact that we don't know who the Art Flecks are in our neighborhood.
Sure.
This is the greatest fear that people have as regards serial rapists, serial killings, mass murders. We do not know, and we're often mortified when we discover that this is a person that comes from a well-to-do family like the Unabomber.
Yeah.
Or this is a person who is well educated like Ted Bundy, or or the person who could be the clown like Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're mortified because these people are in appearance, all-American types.
Or more recently, the shooter in Las Vegas, where
A millionaire.
Yeah, and they just decided that they didn't really know why he did it. I mean, that was basically what they had came up
And
with.
we still do not know what the motivation is.
Yeah.
Primarily because of the malfactor, the person who did the shooting. Imagine if we now the profile of a mass murderer is a millionaire, white male.
Right.
When in reality, the profile of a mass murderer or a serial killer is often the white male who is disenfranchised from a very early period in their life straight through to adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
When we think of street crimes, we don't think of Martha Stewart, who is, by the way, a convicted felon.
Sure.
Right? But a billionaire.
Sure.
So our image of the serial killer or the rapist or the street criminal is not someone who is well-to-do. It's always someone who is poor, disenfranchised, as I mentioned. In this case, we already know that black kids grow up institutionalized from birth. Yes. We know that poor Latino kids grow up institutionalized from birth. But they are also disenfranchised from a very early age in their lives. But because it's normative within those communities, they are somehow not impacted in the same way white children are impacted by being disenfranchised or not conforming to middle-class measuring rods.
Sure.
And that, that control that is so often invasive in the black community, in the Latino community, in the Asian community, is not operating in the white community because the controls are designed to protect and shield and buffer those communities as opposed to the other communities. And this has some bearing. I've worked with some in my career as a criminologist. I've had an opportunity to work with some serial killers, and it's always the same thing in terms of what is so evident in their lives, in their formative lives. So we see, again, the aggressive mentoring or role modeling by parents, sexual assaults, verbal assaults, emasculation, pornography. Really? Pornography is a commonality among serial killers, rapists, murderers. Another thing that the public is probably most unaware of is truancy.
Okay.
Truancy is often the best indicator that a kid, as an adult, is going to have some problem with the law.
Wow.
And when you go to prisons and jails, you'll find that a lot of offenders are dropouts.
Wow. I'll be back with more from Professor Kevin Early right after this.
In the new book, Superheroes, Their Movies, and Why We Love Them, discover answers to all the age-old questions. Is Superman the first superhero? What would Marvel be without Stan Lee? What happened to James Cameron's Spider-Man movie? Who is the most popular superhero? And who's winning the war between DC and Marvel? Superheroes, Their Movies, and Why We Love Them. On Kindle, Amazon, or BarnesandNoble.com, or any of these other great digital bookstores.
the director of the film, of the Joker, Todd Phillips, said something along the lines of comparing it to other violence in movies. He brought up the movie John Wick 3 that came out recently. Is there something to what he's saying? Why are people singling out a movie like Joker and what it depicts versus a film like John Wick 3?
Well, think about it this way, Tom. This is the 4th or 5th Joker character in a series of Jokers. And we're a long way from the Bruce Wayne original 1960-70 Joker.
Baron Powell.
Yeah. This film is rated R.
Yeah.
And the types of scenes I believe are depicted are much more graphic than the PG-13 of its predecessor films.
Sure.
Okay, so I think that's what people are responding to. The fact that there are a lot of violent films coming out of Hollywood's basket.
Yes.
This should be like no other film, R-rated or otherwise. Violence is violence. It's what the public wants. You know, as I said today in today's lecture, I talked about how this character, everybody's upset about the character, upset about the rating, but we're all motivated by different things. Motivate us regarding crime and violence. There's a bit of an art flex in every single one of us. Every person, we're human, just as these serial killers are human.
Should, in today's society, with the school shootings and all of the other violence and it's, the polarization politically of people, do you feel like people should be fearful? This is a real thing. You said law enforcement is responding to this. Is that just the world we live in right now? Like, you should plan on, if you go to a movie theater, you might be putting yourself in a situation where something like this might happen?
I think movie theaters should be responsible insofar as the way in which these films are advertised. The cinemas that show these productions should have security. I'm not saying metal detectors. I'm not talking about making them like our airports where you're passing through all these machines and taking off everything. I'm not suggesting that, but I think that the public needs more awareness about the relationship between violence and what we see through these images. I'm not a person who's afraid to go to a public space, because once you start being fearful about going to the movies or to going to a football game or some public event, then you're doing exactly what these predators want you to do, ranging from terrorism to other types of criminogenic behavior. And that's not how we in this country live our lives, nor should people elsewhere in the world live their lives that way.
After the break, more with Professor Kevin Early.
Hi, I'm Herb Strather, a real estate developer that was born right here in Detroit, and I've spent my entire life redeveloping our community. We have a home study course. We'll show you how to find the real estate, underwrite the real estate, finance the real estate, and rehab the real estate without getting hurt. Our home study course is just $400, and I'm going to invest $200 towards that. Just use the discount code Detroiters, and I will invest in you as you invest in yourself.
A Dream Limousine continues to be Metro Detroit's finest luxury transportation service. 734-542-6800. offering late model luxury SUVs to brand new party buses that seat up to 34 passengers. 734-542-6800, including the one-of-a-kind Escalade Stretch with the exciting jet door. Call 734-542-6800. That's 734-542-6800. A dream limousine.
The attraction of a character like the Joker, the attraction, you know, this year alone there was a Ted Bundy movie, there was a Ted Bundy miniseries on Netflix. It's constantly
Dexter.
Right. Yeah, all of these programs. There's a fascination with this.
There is a Dexter in every one of us. We all have the potential. They're human, just like the two of us. But we all have different character defects or flaws, if you will. Some are manifested in this type of behavior. Some are manifested in other ways through sublimation. The person may decide they're going to be in the NFL, and they redirect that negative energy that was a part of their early childhood into something very productive to the community. Every person has two dogs, a good dog and a bad dog. And oftentimes when you ask people which of the two wins, you'll hear, oh, it's the good dog, because the good is what we all want to be. That's how we see ourselves. And at the end of the day, the good always triumphs over evil. In all of the Batman and the Joker films, there's an expected or anticipated outcome that we can't wait to see, even though we even start rooting for the bad guy, and then we go, oh, sorry, who's looking?
Well,
okay.
That became the big thing in the 90s. You know, shows like Sopranos, Breaking Bad, this idea of the anti-hero.
Yes.
It's what draws people in, and
of course.
People notice that those characters are that villain is always more interesting than the hero.
Yeah, and look how many marriage proposals Ted Bundy got, Charles Manson got, Dr. Death got. We're attracted to their paintings, their artwork. We buy their paraphernalia post-mortem. We really are attracted to these people. But our greatest fears are that perhaps we could be just like them. Think about that. Imagine that.
Right.
That could be one of our fantasies, one of our darkest secrets. Sure. So the Joker is, you know, a motion picture that we'll go watch for an hour and a half to 2 hours, but we'll really reflect upon that when we walk out of the theater. We really will think about, you know, could that be me? Could that be a part of my past?
Should there be an ongoing public, you know, discussion about this, or is this much ado about nothing? Is this they've picked the Joker out of a hat and, you know, held it up as, you know, the scapegoat for a much larger problem facing society? You
know, Tom, I've lived in countries that have had their motion pictures censored before they were shown to the public. They would have departments that would go through and cut and paste and take out these type of scenes and show the public what the state wanted them to see. That is not American. And so I think the public discourse should revolve around what the public really wants and expects in terms of cultural values. If American culture is a culture of violence, then this is just another movie. But if not, then the Hollywood community, the public at large, the law enforcement community, everyone should we're all stakeholders in what images are portrayed and what images our children see and the images that we see. And we have to decide, what do we want to see?
So we've heard all of the discussion, we've talked about the controversy, and now we're left with the film itself. I'll tell you what, I don't think that there will be a more divisive, polarizing movie this year. The screening that I attended even had critics coming out of the theater in an uproar, calling the movie complete trash and a total failure, while others were hailing it as one of the best movies of the year. So what I can tell you about my own opinion is that I found Joker to be an imperfect masterpiece. I think there's validity to all the criticism that the movie is getting, and I have a few myself, but first and foremost, I think that there is universal agreement from the lovers and the haters that Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker, Arthur Fleck, is mind-blowing and amazing. I have so many thoughts on the Joker that I just wrote my longest movie review ever, 2,100 words in fact, and I urge all of you to read it on the website for my full thoughts. But ultimately, I found Joker to be mesmerizing and insightful. It holds a mirror up to our society, not a microphone. And many of the issues that are being discussed is because of how close to home a movie like this lands. There's an Arthur Fleck in all of us, and that thought may just be subconsciously more than many moviegoers can bear. I give Joker an A-, and again urge you to read my full online review. For more detailed reviews of these and other movies, please check me out on Rotten Tomatoes. You can go to the site, search the critics list to find Tom Santilli, and you can scroll through all of my recent and not so recent reviews. Another good way to find my stuff is to follow me on Twitter @TomSantilli or go to the website movieshowplus.com.
Hey, Greg Russell here from Movie Show Plus, enjoying being here at the Foundation Hotel this week. We've been taking the show on the road quite a bit. Now, if you've got a business that you would like us to showcase, just let us know. Get in touch with us via our website right here, movieshowplus.com, and we'll get back with you. And hey, who knows? You might be the next movie star right here on Movie Show Plus.
Check out movieshowplus.com to watch this episode online and for exclusive content, extended interviews with Greg Russell, and a complete archive of movie reviews with Tom Santilli. Also, make sure to like and follow us on social media and on our Movie Show Plus YouTube channel. Next time on Movie Show Plus.
You should be flattered. You should be dead. This has to be stopped. Because what if somebody actually knew what we really are?
Any and all views and or opinions expressed by me, Tom Santilli, are fully my own and do not necessarily reflect the views and or opinions of Movie Show Plus, any other critic on the show, or anybody else associated with this program.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.